Good morning, world. Oops, yes, my microphone is turned on. Sorry about that if I blared anyone out. Today, day 4 of 30, sharing some type of brave act, something that was a little uncomfortable, a little difficult for me to do, something that other people might not give a second thought about. This isn't about judging each other's acts of bravery and saying that one is better than another. We never know what impact on our lives doing something that for one person might seem insignificant, and for someone else it's a monumental challenge that they've overcome. It's that 10-foot wall that they never thought they could get over, and somehow they did. And whether it was them came to the wall and gave them a boost up, or perhaps it was someone that was on the top of the wall that had a rope and threw it down and pulled them up and over. You never know. Perhaps it was a lion running behind them and they just had that burst of adrenaline and just woof, they were right up it. We never know what will propel us to doing these amazing things. Today's act of courage that I would like to share with you is one that was more internal for me, that sense of vulnerability. I have recently started writing creatively again. I've been participating in a writer's workshop. It's a Facebook group here, and I will put a link to that after I finish this live, because it's a wonderful free community for people who are interested in writing. And then I have also taken a writer's course with Annie Matthias, and it's been a wonderful journey of learning to express myself again creatively, and then having the courage to share those writing assignments with the other people in the class. It was scary. It was disconcerting. And what actually got me to join this class was Annie had presented a writing prompt in the group, and she had invited people to, excuse me, go on a Zoom call, which is an online meeting place where people from all over the world can use their internet connections, their computers, their phones, and join this room so that we can all be together at the same time. And we had a reading event. So writers were allowed to go in and share what they had written. Piece of cat fluff on my lip or something. And so the first time I did this, she had offered this prompt that was a mirror type of prompt. You walk into this place and you see this mirror and you know that it's magical and you tell the story. I had so much fun with that prompt. Within just a couple of hours, a full story had come to me and I felt like it was magical. It was raw, but it was magical to me. And I just felt that power of reigniting that love of creative writing. So on this Zoom call, there were 4, 5, 6 other people. And she asked who wants to read their story. And I'm thinking, I think I'll just listen today, because that was an option. You didn't have to read your writing. And that's one thing that I love about this writer, this mentor. She is so kind and compassionate and understanding of some of the struggles we have as writers. She's a writer herself. She has lived it and lives it. So in this online forum, people started reading their stories, and everyone had read their stories and there was still time. So I kind of reluctantly put my hand up and said that I would read mine. Now, I had calculated we were trying to go for 5-minute timelines, just so that everyone would have an opportunity to read. I knew that my story would require around 10 or 12 minutes to read, but I had segmented it so I had a 5-minute block. So I read this 5-minute block and I stopped, because I do try to be very respectful of time limits and the consideration of other people. They may not like my story, and so 5 minutes may be all they could handle. So at the end of this 5 minutes, I had actually only just at that point reached the part where the main character named Sarah Monroe discovered the magic mirror. I had this whole pre-story building up to it, and it was fun for me to write. It was fun for me to read. So as I said, I was the last person to read. And when everyone unmuted their microphones, Annie, the leader of the group, she said, "I want to know what happens next." And she asked the group if anyone would mind if I continued reading. We still had some time in the 1 hour session we had blocked off. So I got to read my entire story. And it was so scary and it was so wonderful. And I will tell you, as I was reading it, I could feel my cheeks getting warm. I could feel that anxiety that I first experienced when I started public speaking at Toastmasters, or those horrible days back in school when the teacher would call on me to answer a question and my face would just flare up, just the heat. My fingers actually feel nice and cool right now. My face does feel a little flushed. So it was an amazing experience to share this creative writing, because even though I was loving it, you never know how someone else is going to respond to it. And the fact that this small group of women appreciated the character I had created, who wanted to hear more of her story, it was a gift. It was a true gift that they gave to me. And it's a gift that I would not have been able to receive had I not had that courage to reluctantly put my hand up and say, okay, I'll read my story. We've had a couple of other reading sessions since then, and I have shared my work. In fact, in the last one, I was reading a letter that I had written. This was one of the writing prompts for the class. And it was a letter to our younger self. And it was kind of ironic because I was working with my coach in December, January timeframe. And one of the homework assignments she had given to me was to start interacting with my inner child at different stages in my life, just letting myself kind of free think some of the challenges I was going through, and not to evaluate them and dig into them from a therapeutic sense, but to approach it as the wise adult going back and speaking with kindness to this younger self, honoring all that children don't know and understand, that they're not yet able to process, and loving that part of myself, that younger part of myself who didn't understand how my father was, how my mother was, how my family relationships were, and the hurt that they caused me. And even though rationally as an adult I can say they didn't know better, they were a product of their upbringing, society at the time, and all of these things, that doesn't satisfy a little 8 or 10 or a 12-year-old girl. All she wants to know is, you are loved, and I love you, and I honor you, because who you were is what brought me to who I am. So as I'm reading this letter to this group, it was more emotional and more difficult than I expected it to be. And I just started crying. And I felt comfortable with that. And that's the beauty of finding people that you feel like are your people, that you feel safe with. You feel you can express your vulnerability and know that you're okay. And I hope that you have people like that, whether it's one friend, whether it's a friend you know in person in real life, or if it's someone that you can only touch the screen. And that's all that you have. It's powerful. It has been soul transforming for me, these relationships that I've developed through Facebook groups, through this writing program. So today, I would like to share a poem that I actually wrote just minutes ago. It was something that started to form in my mind last night when I couldn't sleep. And this morning when I got up, the words just kind of poured out. And I'm going to share that my poetry is not really it doesn't meet the standard meter and poetry formation and stuff. I don't know if it's more poetic prose. I don't know what it's called, but it's not like paragraphs, just small chunks. But I'm enjoying this new way of playing with words. And so here in this act of bravery, I'm going to pull my screen over so that I can read this poem to you that I wrote this morning that is actually called One Act of Beauty or Courage. And it's by me, Donna Doyon. You ready? Okay. One act of beauty or courage. The poet Rilke offered this as a means to break a dragon's curse, to restore a princess to her true state. What if it were that simple? What if our dragons, as Rilke perhaps, were helpless creatures seeking only our love? Would you act then? Would you go forth with courage? Would you see the beauty? Would you feel the compassion? The concept of courage, the thought of being brave, has occupied my thoughts these past days. When I look in the mirror, it isn't courage I see. I see doubt, confusion, and fear. I hold myself back when I want to move forward. I whisper my dreams when I want to shout them to the universe. I keep my sword sheathed and hide when danger threatens. One act of beauty, one act of courage. Looking back on my life, at the choices I've made, I see glimmers of courage. I see hints of the beautiful being I have become. I do not slay dragons. I befriend them. I let them lift me into the sky where we chase clouds that look like puppies and bunnies, and yes, even fire-breathing dragons. Fear not your dragons, my friend. Invite them to join you on this journey called life. That is one act of beauty and courage. So that's my poem that I wrote this morning. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're enjoying these lessons of bravery and courage that I'm sharing with you. They're simple things, seemingly simple things, but they have made my life so beautiful, so amazing. And as I'm looking back and reflecting on them, I'm feeling more compelled to continue to do more when the fear and the doubts start plaguing me and holding me back. I'm looking back and saying, but look at what you've done. Why would you let this one small thing stop you? There's a wall there. There's an obstacle. There are people that will help you get over it. You just have to let them know you need a hand. I hope, excuse me. I hope you have an amazing day, and I will see you tomorrow.